Mourning the shock and sudden death of Aussie cricket legend Dean Jones. The former batsman suffered a heart attack while working in India. Nine Sports presenter Tony Jones joins me now in Melbourne. TJ, good morning to you. It was such a shock, wasn't it?
Well, just devastating, Karl. It really is. I mean, Dean Jones is one of those characters who you just think will go on and on, a bit like when he was out in the middle for Australia. You didn't think the innings would ever come to an end, and that's probably a crude way of putting it, but that's the sort of bloke that Dean Jones was. He was just full of life, and it is just so extraordinary to think that, as we've heard throughout the course of the morning and late last night, that he suffered this massive cardiac arrest in India. Brett Lee trying to revive him. This came after what we understand to be a run earlier in the morning, but Dean Jones wasn't the sort of fellow that sort of carried a lot of weight or appeared to be unfit, and I think this just adds to the shock of what we're hearing.
I remember distinctly that innings in Madras where he scored more than 200. He had heat stroke. It was described by Bob Simpson, the coach of the Aussie team at the time, as the greatest innings ever. But it's his legacy and it's his one-day commitment that really changed the game that he'll be remembered for, won't it?
Well, that's all right. I mean, he had this footwork that would make Fred Astaire jealous. I mean, he could handle spin, he could handle pace, he could handle anything. He could handle any pressure that was thrown at him. And he came into the Australian side at a time when the Australian team was under enormous pressure. Alan Border had been thrust into a job that he probably didn't really want, or certainly wasn't ready for, but he was able to mould that team. And with the likes of, David Boone and Jeff Marsh, and then Steve Waugh came into the equation, he was able to actually create this team that went on to world glory and to become one of the most fearsome units in the world. And it was in no small part to the efforts of Dean Jones and that batting brilliance. And as I said earlier, when Dean Jones was at the crease, as a cricket spectator, you felt confident that Australia was going to be okay. So, look, I mean, we will remember him for his one-day magic, hence the title of the book that came out years ago. But that double century in Madras is just the stuff that Legends was made of. And you said in the introduction that he is a cricket legend, and he was inducted into the Australian Cricket Hall of Fame in 2019, and I'm glad he did. Yeah. I'm glad he was inducted at a time when he could enjoy it.
So many tributes coming through this morning too. I note with interest of Vivian Richards, and I remember the great clashes of going to the Gabba with my dad back in the 80s, and that great West Indian side, Greenwich, Haynes, Michael Holl. I mean, they just had a raft of great players, and he never took a back step, did he, Dean Jones?
No, in fact, quite the opposite, Karl. And we think back to the SCG 1993. It was a one-day final. Curtly Ambrose was as fearsome as any bowler in the world, and to actually stand there and wait for that tracer-like bullet, as Tony Greig used to tell us, to come down, would have been absolutely infuriating for a batsman and frightening. But not Dean Jones. He wanted Curtly Ambrose to take off the white wristbands that he said were being a distraction, and that only infuriated Curtly Ambrose even more. Dean Jones didn't care about that. He couldn't give a tinker's cuss. He just wanted to have the best contest he possibly could with bat and ball, and more often than not, he'd come out on top.
The hard thing is, TJ, and I think about what a great tribute, and look, there's going to be a funeral in Melbourne. We would assume in the next couple of days, and it's just you can't do it. How are we going to pay tribute to him?
Well, I don't think we can do that in the manner in which he should be afforded. And this is a situation facing not just famous sports people, but people right across Melbourne at the moment, because you can only have up to 10 people. Now, in normal circumstances, and we know that 2020 has been anything but normal, you would have booked out the biggest church going here. The MCG, across the road from where we are here at Cricket Headquarters, would have booked out the MCC function room for the aftermath, the wake, if you like. But it won't be happening, and I think that's one of the great tragedies added to what already is a tragedy, in that Dean Jones won't be afforded the farewell that he should be. And I guess there will be ways in which we can honour him. I'm sure social media will do its thing and come up with maybe it is putting a bat out like we've done before. So look, we'll come up with something, but it's just so unfortunate that he won't be given the send-off that he fully deserves.
Very well said, TJ. A lovely tribute this morning. Appreciate your time today.